But anyway, they denied it. And like I said, Noah Tesla had run the same type of experiments earlier. And even though the shuttle is an impressive device, and I sat on all the contractor meetings.
Well, Werner von Braun drew that in the early 30s. I mean, von Braun had this shuttle concept for Hitler.
Okay, anyway, they had all these contractors like Lockheed, Grumman, you name every Boeing, every one of the major airframe builders made a proposal that had the shuttle or a shuttle-type craft flying on something that looked like a 747, and these not only had regular jet engines, they had ramjets and so forth. The idea was to get the shuttle as high and fast as possible, have it take off on its own internal fuel tank and propulsion system, and have a recoverable system.
Space plane.
It would be a space plane that would be launched off the back of a 747 type.
Yeah, you've got a whole bag of documents,
yes,
photos.
Well, I was looking at a photo for the shuttle on the back of a 747. But anyway, that is quite doable. But the 747 is not fast enough, nor is it intended. Well, in the first place, the shuttle is launched with an enormous and very expensive fuel tank that holds liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen.
That's the center, right?
That is that huge fuel tank that the shuttle looks like a bug on the side of, and it has two huge solid rocket motors on either side to lift it on launch. It burned for 2.5 minutes. Okay, that was never intended to be the case, and it violated most of NASA's safety policies as far as the danger of working with and having those solid rocket segments, because they used a perchlorate rubber or sulfur type fuel. I don't know what the exact composition was. And aluminum. It had a lot of aluminum and perchlorate in it, potassium chlorate. If you dropped a wrench or something on a segment that was sitting around the launch facility, and I was down there on some trips on business on the cameras, you would actually cause it to ignite. It was percussive sensitive if you hit it hard enough. The contractors all came in with...
go through all the suspicious stuff. I mean, I know you're giving us details how the rockets
They were
work.
going to do it right, and we were going to have a totally reusable shuttle, but the price in $1970 was going to be in the billions of dollars to get it all done. Now, the thing that y'all have missed that nobody paid any attention to that really just fried me and everyone else was Robert McNamara canceled the production of the Saturn V booster. And when he did that, he killed the space program. It would be more than 10 years, they knew at least, before we had anything that would fly into space, like the shuttle development and testing that had to be done.
The Saturn was an amazing lifter.
That's right. And not only that, but it was relatively inexpensive. It burned kerosene and liquid oxygen, at least for the first two stages, and then the S-4B, the top third stage, propulsion stage of it, was liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. But at any rate, he not only had the production stopped, he had the tooling destroyed and the drawings destroyed. This, to me, amounted to high treason.
Sabotage.
Yes. And I'm sure he didn't do that on his own. They, for some reason, changed their mind about flying heavy objects into space, and we still can't duplicate with the shuttle what the Saturn V would do. Now they're talking about building.
Why did they destroy the Nazi drawings that Werner von Braun did? If you know he came up with the Saturn V.
This is one of the big mysteries. They apparently did not want to publicly fly in space like we had been. They wanted to end the lunar program. The last three of the Saturn V's, they put one on display horizontally at Johnson Space Center. They put one at Huntsville, Alabama, Redstone Arsenal, and one at the Cape Kennedy installation. So that was the last 3 of them.
So this is more evidence of how they've really got another secret program. And now they admit they have space planes, they just won't let us see them.
I personally believe, without any evidence, that was really the start of whatever we have for a secret program, because by that time they developed the necessary biological equipment. You have to keep yourself alive in space if you're going to send men in there, and they have to be. On Apollo, we used pure oxygen at 5 psi, which gave the equivalent, or a little more than the equivalent, of breathing 21% oxygen at 15 psi, or 14.7, the atmospheric pressure. And many of the problems that we encountered were solved, and also computers came along, the integrated circuits and things that were made miniaturization possible and life possible to sustain a human in space, which is one of the most difficult things to do. It is far cheaper to build, like JPL does, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, robots that go out. That way you don't have to carry any food, you don't have to carry any air, water, anything to sustain a human.
Yeah, that's what Dr. Bob Bowman said, is that there's robot craft, and that for at least, what did he say, it'd be about 27 years, that there is already military stealth spaceplane aircraft, and again, they drop solid DU weapons in the gravity well, so it'd be going about 28,000 miles an hour. And that now, understand, it's not nuclear. There's not a reaction happening. It's just that the solid core, it's a meteor gun. It's really what it is. That's what he says the weapon platforms they've got are. That's super high classified. He ran that program right before they made it public under Reagan.
Okay, I have never worked on it. I do know these cannon shells. I've been on tests that are made out of DU. You could buy the projectiles at gun shows. In fact, I've handled them, which I shouldn't have. I learned later. Were about 3/4 of an inch or an inch in diameter, and they were about like 14 inches long, but they weighed about 50, 60 pounds, and it's just like a small arrow. But they move. They have a sabot or a plastic case around it, and they can be launched at 5,000 or 6,000 feet per second.
Yeah, that Abrams has that, the Vulcan gun and the A-10.
And they will literally go through both sides of a turret of a tank.
Well, what Bowman said is it's an assassination weapon. You can have somebody, who is 600 feet in a bunker, and you drop one of these solid DU weapons in the gravity well, it gets accelerations you could never get in the atmosphere. And he was talking about 28,000 miles an hour. Can you imagine what that solid DU bomb does at 28,000 miles an hour?
Well, this very, very dense material apparently holds together enough to go through almost anything that is less dense than itself, and it causes enormous destruction.
Well, it's meant as a global decapitation. They can find out whoever they want to kill, where they're at. They got the attack craft all circling the planet at any one time. Supposedly there's quite a few of these babies, and that's when he was there 20-plus years ago. Can you imagine what they've got now, Raymond? And that brings me to the next thing, where we get more into speculative stuff, or what you can or can't say on air. I know you're very nervous doing this, and I appreciate it, Raymond. Going back here, now, if you're working on the Apollo program, they bring back these photos that have to be fake, in your words. What do you think was really going on with the space program then? Because that's what others have said off record, is that this was just a cover for a real space program, and that they could have just been in orbit, and then you guys were fed fake info from another mission control, or how could that happen, Raymond? Or what do you think really happened?
No, I think what we did, what we thought we were doing. I'm just saying that there was probably, kept getting indications to me that the money was really being spent on something else, and that the basic research and ability to maintain humans in an artificial environment existed, but I have no positive proof and did not work on any of it. But the science fiction writers had space stations that were wheels, and these wheels on the outside would be spinning, and you'd have a hub that was stationary in the center that you would dock to, have your solar cells on, and you would have artificial gravity on the outside, so you didn't have to worry about the blood chemistry changes and the effects of being weightless for long periods of time on the crew.
More German technology.
That was not That has not been done to date, to my knowledge. It hasn't publicly been done. As far as these weapons Alex is talking about, I don't know about them, but what makes me very angry is we have, what is the date? I need to put my glasses on that.
This is March 4th, 2008.
The Austin American Statesman. And down here they say, U.S. Navy hits Somali home in attack on terrorism suspect. Well, it just tells where they launched 2 missiles.
At a suspect.
At a suspect. At a cost, these missiles cost at least $1 million apiece and probably several million to wipe out some shack and kill not only maybe the suspect if he was there, but also everyone else around within quite a few yards. And Congress has not declared war on Somalia.